Hello, and thank you to family and friends and people who support me and who listen to me and give me feedback. Yes, few and far between, but I appreciate it. Thank you. The reason why I jumped on here to discuss about our environments and how it is very essential that each and every one of us analyzes and looks at the environments we belong to. Now that it could be as simple as your suburb. It could be as simple as your family surroundings. It could be as simple as the friends you hang out with, your colleagues. So when I talk about environments obviously would vary depending where you are at any given point in time. Because what we need to realize is that there are very many factors in our environments that could influence how we behave, that influence how we receive information, and it influences our mental health. We have to be cautious about the people that we surround ourselves with. We have to be cautious about the communication, how we communicate, and who we are communicating with, and how much of information we are communicating. Because sometimes we have to be extremely mindful who we tell, what we tell, and how we tell it. Because if we constantly focus on the negativity and we surround ourselves with people who feed that negativity, we will not improve our lives. And the struggle is real, but what will happen is you will be basically feeding that struggle. You'll be surrounding that struggle constantly and building higher walls, which means that even that amongst all the struggle, if you're trying to find an escape, because the information that you are providing to certain people who are actually feeding that negativity, feeding into that pain, feeding into that information, you will simply make it harder for you to actually gain momentum, for you to actually gain freedom from the hardships, from the trials and tribulations. You need to make sure that you take yourself away from those environments that are harmful to your being. Now, there are people in our lives who tend to walk away from people with baggage, and I'm using the word baggage quite loosely. I'm not afraid of baggage. I'm not afraid of people with baggage. But what I tend to do, and I normally use me as an example because it is quite essential that I I teach people from what I've learned and from where I extract information from. So where I am concerned, I am very vigilant and very cautious about the environments I'm in, and especially the people who are giving me information. So if somebody is going through a hardship and somebody is going through a struggle, and that could be anything in their lives. It could be work related, could be family related. Relationships are so not easy. We do have to pay attention to to all our relationships, relationships with our parents, uncles, aunties, friends, our family members, our doctors, our neighbors. We are constantly juggling so many relationships at one point, at one given point, that it could be overwhelming for some people. There are others who are extremely resilient. There are other people who have a lot of ammunition, and there are others who struggle, who are not as resilient. And most of my conversations are for those who are not as resilient. I will be quite honest. I wasn't very resilient, and that's the reason why the number of times I've fallen I feel is astronomical. But at the same time, I've gotten up and challenged myself to do better and be better. And yes, I do have the resources that probably other people don't have, and I am grateful for. And I have deliberately made sure that I have built those stronger walls around me. I have, I make sure, I have an open and a closed door policy, whereas I do generally mean it. People who do generally have problems, and who are struggling on a daily basis, I am very accessible, and I allow those people to come and talk to me and tell me what they feel and how they feel. And I will do everything I possibly can within my power to be able to assist them. Yes, on occasions, there are certain people in my life that I am still trying to mend my relationships with, and therefore it becomes a bit cumbersome when those individuals are in my life on occasions. Not saying that those individuals are doing anything wrong. It's just I think our minds are so incredible that they sometimes tend to remind us of information, incidences that we should not be reminded of, and it could get triggered off by a smell of a person, or just a smell of the environment. Something in the environment may trigger you off, and that's the reason why I constantly tell people who come to me, be mindful of the environment you're in. If there is a trigger point, be mindful of that trigger point. And I place a lot of focus on mental health, especially around depression. And depression is nothing to feel ashamed of. Do not exploit it, though. Those people who misuse this information and say, "Oh, I'm depressed and therefore I can't go to work. I'm depressed and therefore I can't do this, and I'm depressed and therefore I can't do that," and they find an excuse, and they possibly encourage themselves to just not enhance their lives because probably they're too lazy to do so, and they're quite set in their ways. And I encourage many people who think they're set in their ways, go and explore new things, go and have new adventures, go meet new people. Even if you're in a relationship with somebody, I would say explore new things, go into new environments. If you haven't gone to a nightclub, doesn't matter what age you are, go into a nightclub, enjoy that music. Yes, there are limitations, and don't get too absorbed and too consumed, and don't get addicted to things that could cause obstacles or could be a detriment. Obviously having addiction issues, I would not encourage them to go into a nightclub. I would not encourage them to go into a pub or a club. I would ask them to stay away from these places, stay away from friends who do encourage addiction like alcoholism, and I would say go to the ocean, go to parks, go to theme parks. If you got nephews, nieces, kids, go and indulge with these young minds, because I think young minds teach us quite a lot, and we can teach them quite a lot. And it allows us to be kids again. But, oh goodness gracious, the reason why I got into all of this is talking about depression, talking about mental health. And what I do tell people is, who are genuinely looking to better their lives, is make sure you acknowledge who you are this point in time. So if you are, let's say Neil, at this point in time, Neil is sad because he cannot progress in life, because he doesn't have the resources. And the reason why he doesn't have the resources now in this moment is maybe he is not being able to deal with a lot of the issues of what occurred in his past. And therefore, you sort of put them down in points, and see the good things, see the resources that you have. And many of us do have resources around us, and it doesn't have to be money. It can be people who will be more than willing to help you with resources or help you with things that they have. So make a note of where you are at, and what you want to achieve, and look at your surroundings and look at your environment, and try to reach out for people who will assist you if you are genuinely open and genuinely honest with these individuals. if somebody tells me that they are going through a hard time, I acknowledge that information, but I do not feed into that information. What I then do is, what can we do? I acknowledge the pain. I acknowledge the suffering. Guess what? I have faced very similar situations, and I've had circumstances that have not been kind to me. So let's see what I can do for you to address or make life better. And if those people are genuinely willing to change their lives, I will go all out to assist them. I'll take them to the beach. I will go pick them up from their home. I will even go to their home and tidy their homes for them. As long as you are genuinely, honestly looking for that change. What I'm not very keen on is medication, and I don't think medication is necessarily an answer. I'm trying not to make an umbrella statement here, but it could vary person to person, situation to situation. I am constantly weary of medication around depression, ADHD, etc., so on and so forth, anxiety, extreme anxiety there is, and I've experienced people with extreme anxiety. Now, I don't know if that's if the medication has had something to do with it, or their lifestyle, or their environment, or their circumstances has increased their anxiety due to their indulgence and due to the inability. See, for example, if you are having weight issues, and if you surround yourself with people who are having weight issues and not doing anything about their weight issues, you are going to drown in that environment, and you are not going to be able to step outside that environment and better your life. If you are an alcoholic, or if you're indulging in drugs, and you're surrounding yourself with people who are indulging in drugs, you are not helping yourself. You are not helping yourself to change, or giving yourself the opportunity, because what's happening here is, because everybody is addicted, let's say to alcohol or to some sort of a drug, that they sort of in a way encourages the other person to say, hey, guess what, we're having a good time, and we don't need to step outside this environment because we are fine. But there are long-term consequences, and I know those long-term consequences because I've experienced those long-term consequences. I have seen people who have had beautiful lives and who've indulged, and unfortunately when I see them now, because they haven't utilized their resources, or maybe they were in those environments that fed into the addiction, that fed into the trauma, that fed into the problem. There was nothing positive within those environments, that they stayed in those environments. And it's quite sad to see some of those individuals and come across some of those individuals where I have made everything, or I've tried to do everything possible in order for me to change and better the circumstances. And I think for each and every person who is actually facing any addiction issues, or any issues in their lives, any obstacles, look at your environment. Pay attention to the people in that environment, and start analyzing those environments closely, and then ask yourself, do you want to be in that environment? What do you want for yourself? Because, to be quite honest, life is pretty. Life is beautiful. If we step into, like, I'm a big fan of Bronte, and that's the reason why I like to keep it clean. I like to keep Bronte quiet. It's not within my control, and I know I'm saying it the way it seems like it is in my control, but it's not. But places like Bronte, I thrive in those places. I reflect. I do a lot of reflecting in those places, and I make sure I respect those places, because the environment, the attributes, or what that particular environment presents to me is tenfold. And I think respecting those environments is quite crucial. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, the last few days I'm experiencing not my hardship, and I've been approached, and I'm free to say this without mentioning names, and I've been exchanging conversations and dialogue, and there is a lot of restraint coming from the other party, and I go, no, try to not. If you are approaching somebody and you think that somebody is very open and very willing to lend a hand, then don't pull back. make sure that this person that you're giving information to, that you're being honest with, and you're not going to abuse their kindness. And sometimes we do abuse people's kindnesses without us realizing, because we are so consumed in our own minds and our own thoughts, and we're so deprived that we forget seeing and appreciating the person across the table. I've done that, and I've sometimes ignored the value of what people can provide us. Few and far between. But be mindful of environments. Look after yourselves. Take care and stay blessed.